The best way to manage your credit is you always want to start with your own credit card. That's the easiest way to start credit. You can start with a secured credit card, which means you go online or you go to a bank and you give the bank $300 and they will give you a credit card with a $300
Hmm.
limit back. So you're almost prepaying for that card, but it's a credit card. And after 6 months to a year of you properly using that card and paying it back on time, and you use the card and you pay it back on time, the bank will give you your money back. And now you have your own unsecured credit card. And once you have your first unsecured credit card and you use it well and you pay it back well, 6 months later, you can apply for another one. And 6 months after that, you can apply for another one.
Oh, that's where I messed up because once I get the first security card, credit card,
Hmm.
I think I put it down like $500,
Hmm.
and I never paid them back.
Yeah.
That's what comes with the bad
Yeah. And
history.
then if you get the card, whether secured or unsecured, secured is where you give the money to the bank and then they give you the card.
Uh
That's a
huh.
secured credit
Uh huh.
card. An unsecured credit card is where you apply for the card with no money down, the bank still gives you a credit card.
They trust you.
It doesn't matter if it's secured or unsecured. You have to pay, you have to use the card and you have to pay it back on time. If you don't pay it back on time, then your credit history starts being bad.
Okay, that's when you started because if you get a bad history already, they're
Mhm.
not gonna trust you.
They're not going to trust you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so important that anytime that you use your credit card or anytime that you borrow money, that you pay it back in a timely manner because that's the biggest impact. 35% of your credit score is based off of your payment history. So the biggest chunk of your credit score, which is 35%, it comes from payment history. It's not only how much you borrow, it's how do you pay it back.
So I have one question about that. You have to pay like fully and pay for
It
all the
depends.
bill, or you have to pay like 5 days ahead, like
So there's a
prior.
trick. There's a trick. So with your credit card, you have something called a statement closing date, and then you have your credit card due date. So let's say your statement closing date is on the 10th of the month. That's when the credit card company is going to close your statement, see how much you owe. That's your statement closing date for that period. And that payment is not going to be due until around 15 days after that. So let's say the 25th. That's your due date. So you have your statement closing date and you have your due date. You have to make your payment by the due date. If you pay after the due date, you're late. If you pay before the due date, then you're good. But here's a trick. If you pay it a day before the statement closing date, that's even better because not only are you not going to have a payment due, when the bank reports the balance to your credit report, they're going to report the balance with the payment already made. So let's say I have a credit card with a $500 limit and I maxed it out. I used all $500. Okay. And I pay it by the due date. That's not bad. That's good. But when a statement closed 15 days before, the bank reported a $500 balance. So what happens is on my credit report, I have a credit card that shows that it's maxed out. So if you owe a lot of money, that also means that I don't know if I can trust you because you already owe somebody a lot of money. But you know that you maxed out your credit card. You know your statement closes on the 10th. Today's the 9th. You know you're going to pay it in full on the due date. Pay it in full now. Because then when your statement closes on the 10th, it closes with a $0 balance. And now it's going to report a $0 balance and you don't have a payment due because you already paid it a day before your statement closing date. So that's a way to hack your credit score is don't pay on the due date, which is okay to do. But if you pay a day before your statement closes, then no balance is ever going to get reported on your credit report, which is always going to help your credit score.
Wow, I'm learning so much here.
Yeah.
Bruce, how does the credit score affect your personal life and your business life?
So let's go personal for a second. The easiest way that I can explain this is here in this country, your credit controls a lot more than your ability to borrow money. Okay. Your auto insurance is affected by your credit score. Did you know that? Somebody with a bad credit score, I'm talking about 450, they will pay more for car insurance than someone with a DUI. Isn't
Oh,
that
I didn't
crazy?
know that.
Yeah.
You
Um,
know that?
yeah, it's crazy. Because again, it all comes to trust, and trust is a factor that matters in this country, right? So your auto insurance, jobs. If you're gonna apply for a job, certain jobs require they have a minimum score of something, or else you're gonna work at a bank, for example, right? Well, you could be a teller. They're gonna check your credit score, and if you have a bad credit score, they're probably not gonna hire you. So your credit score affects the jobs that you can get, your auto insurance, where you can live. You're gonna rent an apartment somewhere, they're gonna check your credit score. If your credit score is low, they're either not gonna let you rent an apartment there or they're gonna require an astronomical deposit, you know? So on your personal life, it affects you a lot. It affects your ability to buy a house. right? You try buying a house with no credit score. It's very
Wow.
difficult.
So what about the business, you mean?
So on your business, there's again, it's the same thing. If you want to finance equipment, if you want to rent a spot, right? Maybe you want to start your own barbershop somewhere. You're gonna lease a place. They're gonna check your credit. But more importantly, and this is a topic that we can talk about another day. There's something called business credit, which is completely different from your personal credit, and that's another passion of mine. Where my business credit does not impact my personal credit whatsoever. So my own business, everything that I do in my business is completely separate from my personal credit report. So my credit cards that are under my business name, they don't report on my personal credit because a business, it eats more, it requires more, right? So
But let's think like another person. The business is like another
it
person,
is.
right?
It is. It's a whole other person. So my advice is if you don't have business credit yet, yes, use your personal credit to finance your business and start your business, right? But once you're somewhat established, you want to take everything that's in your personal credit that's related to your business and transfer that over to your business credit because you're constantly running balances and you're constantly buying equipment and you're constantly revolving balances on your business, right? Maybe like for example, I do payroll, I do things like that all on credit. And if that reports on my personal credit report, when I try to do something personally for myself, like buying a house or trying to buy a car, all that business debt is going to report on my personal debt, on my personal credit report. And that's not the same thing.
I have a question for you about that.
Yeah.
So I noticed that when you're starting a business, you use a lot of your personal credit. You have to personally guarantee,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, a credit card.
Yeah.
You need to personally guarantee that credit card. They're going to ask you for your social security.
Yep.
Okay. But when I look at, let's say, Experian credit, it's not showing this business credit card there.
Mhm.
Why is that? Because you said it's going to be reported on your personal.
Yep. So it depends on some credit cards. For example, a Capital One credit card, the most popular one, the Spark, right? It's a business credit card. You apply for it under your business name with a personal guarantee because you put your social security number on that application. That card reports on your personal credit. But there are some banks, like the Chase card, American Express cards, those will not report on your personal credit unless you default. So if you default, meaning you stop paying and you're late, then they're going to go and report on your personal credit. They won't report the good history on your personal credit, but if you mess up, then they're going to report the bad history on your personal credit. And that's what a personal guarantee is. But if you have an established business with established business credit, eventually that will no longer happen. It's all under your business.